Welcome back to another episode of the North Star Takes podcast. I'm Bailey Paulicki. He's Jacob Alberta, and we're a Minnesota sports podcast. So if you're a Minnesota sports fan, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're a Timberwolves fan, smash the like button on this video because we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Once again, almost sort of a new era. I mean, the team's in place, but once again, they have a new Pobo, their third Pobo basically within the last year after Rosas was fired. So we're just going to kind of give our thoughts and impressions on Tim Connelly. He had his opening press conference a few days ago. He didn't really say anything that was too revealing, but I mean, I don't know. I was impressed, I guess, with his level-headedness. He seems like a guy who's been there before for sure. He made some amazing, draft moves and acquisitions with the Denver Nuggets, and obviously he built a good contender there. Two-time MVP that he found in the second round, which, I mean, I don't know how much of that is luck and how much of that is, I'm sure a good chunk of it's luck, but at the same time, he did it. So it's like, what are your thoughts and impressions on Tim Connelly here, Liberta? And, what do you think? What do you think he can do for this franchise moving forward?
Yeah, like you said, I think he's been there, done that. He looks very comfortable up there with the owners, and feel like he gave a good sense that he knows what he's doing. He didn't really give too much away, but the little things that it took away from it, I guess, were that it sounds like he's a big fan of having really dissenting opinions in the draft war room or the front office in general, as far as making roster decisions and hearing everybody's viewpoints and like basically having a devil's advocate there for what he wants to do compared to other ways he could think about it and how they should go about constructing this roster. I think that was great. And then, like you said, he seems to have a pretty keen eye for talent. He's had some major draft success with the Nuggets, obviously most notably 41st overall, taking Nikola Jokic. That's incredible. And like you said, you don't know how much that is luck or how much you're taking on traits or how much you really believe in this guy. I don't know, but it's like that's a pick of a lifetime. And if he could do anything close to that here to add to what we already have, oh my gosh, like we're gonna be rolling. So I'm pretty excited about this, and nothing about that press conference really changed the way I was thinking about this because I was already high going into it. So I mean, he probably could have said a lot of things, and I would have been like, oh yeah, let's go, let's get excited. But I guess too, it was kind of nice to hear ownership really fully support him up there. I think that A-Rod and Laurie especially had a lot of good things to say about basically him being the cream of the crop in the league, and that's what they sought out to get, and that's exactly what they brought in. So I think that's another good sign that it feels like there's some collaboration there, or should be some collaboration there between the owners and then Connelly, and then him already referring to Finch as Finchy. I think he's already got a relationship. I mean, I believe Finch was there. I mean, that's how we say good sign.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to what he can do. It didn't sound like he wanted to. I mean, again, this could just be GM speak and kind of throwing people off the scent. But he also made a comment too about kind of making tweaks to the roster. Now, he didn't necessarily say tweaks, but he said some minor adjustments to keep on the path that we're going, and that's upward. But he also did mention like it's not necessarily a linear growth pattern either. Like there might be some ups and downs on the road, like anything. So I think I'm curious what maybe not necessarily the plan is this year, but probably more so once we get to like the 2023 offseason. Feels a little juicy after he's had a year to get his feet wet here. But even beyond that, too, like what's the long-term plan? How do you surround Cat and Ant here? So I think that's probably the biggest question he'll face over these next couple off seasons.
Yeah. First of all, I mean, you did the video as soon as they signed him, and that came out, so that was awesome. But I guess my quick Twitch thoughts on Tim Connelly. I'm super pumped about this move. I think this is Laurie and A-Rod absolutely putting their stamp on this organization. I love their aggressiveness to pursue top end talent, whether it's in the front office. I'm sure it'll be on the court as well. I think they probably brought in Tim Connelly as a guy that could go after some of this top end talent. And that kind of begs the question, like you mentioned, the 2023 offseason where they have a max slot potentially available if they don't sign D'Lo to an extension, which seems very unlikely at this point, just because, I don't think Tim Connelly is going to be the type of guy to buy into a player like D'Lo, he's an inefficient scorer. He's a pretty good point guard overall, but there's definitely flaws in his game that can hurt this team, and we saw it in the playoffs for sure. But and then he also made a comment which I thought was interesting. Obviously they asked him about Cat and D'Lo, and he said Cat just needs consistency in the front office, consistency with the head coach, because he hasn't had any consistency since he's been with the Timberwolves, and he's absolutely right about that. But he said, Cat's an all NBA player, if probably the best shooting big man in the NBA. He had all sorts of compliments for Cat, but then when it got to D'Lo, he basically called him a streaky scorer. So I think that kind of tells you all you need to know there. But anything could happen. I think odds are probably good that they hold on to D'Angelo Russell for one more season, let that contract ride out, and then once he hits free agency, you just kind of let him go at that point. Especially if there's who knows what free agency is going to look like a year from now. But there's obviously some big names that could be available, but there could be even more guys that are asking for trades or whatever. So, the Wolves would have a ton of options next summer, and that's probably when they're going to want to make their move too. Golden State gets another year older with Steph and Clay. You got the Suns, who were the 1 seed this year, even though they exited the playoffs, in the second round. They were the best team in the NBA. Chris Paul would be another year older. DeAndre Ayton might not even be back next season if he's going to be wanting a max contract and the Suns don't want to give it to him. I mean, that'll be a big piece of their team they're losing there. So some of these teams that are ahead of you in the West could be coming on the decline within the next couple of years, and that could be your opportunity to strike. So if a premier player is available in 2023, you can put him with Cat and with Ant. Hopefully by that point, Ant is one of the top 15, 20, maybe even top 10 players in the NBA. You can kind of just ride him as your franchise player. And then obviously Cat is, a top 20 to 25 player in his own respects. Top 15 if you go by all NBA, I guess. So, but anyways, yeah, I think this was a super, obviously a good opportunity for Tim Connelly as he got a little chunk of ownership, which is massive. I mean, anybody would take that because the value of this team is only going to, explode, especially if they can get a new arena and have some continued success, etc. But also just the talent here. The foundation's been laid, and a lot of that was due to Gerson Rosas. He did a fantastic job. Gupta kind of steadied the ship this season. Didn't really make any splash moves, but turned out to be a good thing that he held on to guys like Malik Beasley, Torian Prince, guys that could have potentially been traded at the deadline but weren't. So, yeah, I think this was a good opportunity for him, and now he could just kind of, like you mentioned, make the tweaks. He's got an eye for talent. He can identify some under the radar type players that they could get, maybe in the middle of the first round, maybe some second round picks, and free agents that aren't necessarily top end either. So I'm very excited to see how he builds out the rest of this roster and where we're going to be in 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah, for sure. And we have 4 draft picks to play with this year, so I'm curious how he's going to go about doing that. I know he said he hasn't really had a chance to really dig deep in this draft class, so he's going to be kind of relying on everybody else that's there who hopefully has done a thorough job of evaluating all the prospects out there, and especially who might be available there at, I think we have pick 19 in the first round, I want to say it is. So hopefully they have a good understanding of the options we have, and Connelly can come to his own conclusion as far as who's going to fit best in this roster as far as his plan goes, or maybe he'll package some picks and move up and get a premier player that he really loves. I don't know, but I'm kind of hoping that we make the adjustments needed to at least get to where we were at this last year, where we have a pretty solid footing in the playoffs and get in a competitive series and hopefully advance past the first round. But I guess it all depends on the season too. In the West, sometimes you'll have a ton of good teams and sometimes it can be a down year. You never really know. But then it depends what everybody else is doing in the offseason too. So I'm really hoping that, there's probably a variety of things a variety of directions, I should say, that he could go in, but probably just starts with determining if he wants to get really aggressive this offseason or kind of wait another season to see how it plays out with the guys he's got and where he feels like in 2023 is we should make the moves. So,
yeah, what's really nice about this Wolves team is they have I would say the inner core is definitely Ant, Cat, McDaniels, but then you kind of have the outer core of guys like D'Lo, Pat Bev, Beasley, Vando, guys that are, very important to this team, but could definitely be moved on from at some point. So you probably have 3 guys that are untouchable for the next several years. But outside of that, you have some interchangeable pieces, but are all of them going to be gone within the next year? Probably not, but a couple of them definitely could be. So it'll be interesting to see how that, all factors in as well. Cause that's where the improvement from this team is going to be. Obviously you need Ant and McDaniels to get even better. And hopefully Ant turns into a superstar and hopefully McDaniels just continues his growth. He's already a fantastic defensive player. If he can put on a little bit of muscle and improve his offensive game, he's going to be an absolute problem. And, Cat's an all NBA type player. So, I'm excited about the direction for this team. And like I said, just improving on the margins. It's similar to what the Vikings, can do as well. Just, improving with some of these role players, improving in certain situations. Maybe you get a point guard that can handle some of these situations better than D'Lo did in the playoffs, or maybe you can get another big in here that can finally help out with some rebounding and take some load off of Cat's shoulders. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what Tim Connelly does, and I'm so excited about the future of this Timberwolves team, man. The future is so incredibly bright, and we haven't been able to say that for a really long time.
Yeah, I'm incredibly bullish on this. I mean, I feel like we've pushed all the right buttons, made all the right moves in the past probably year or two, maybe. I'd say probably since that whole debacle of the firing of Ryan Saunders and the bringing in of Chris Finch, assistant coach on another team midseason. I think ever since then, I feel like there's been nowhere to go but up for us. I feel like we've done a lot of good things, and hopefully Connelly just adds to that, being the top 5 executive in the league that he is. So we get to a point where we're like a serious contender in the West, where we can play with some of these teams. Even Golden State, for instance, who's making the finals now 6 out of the last 8 years. So it'd be kind of nice to put ourselves in a position like that. I don't think that's too far off, because it's like, how many people picked Dallas to go all the way to the Western Conference Finals this year? Like, not that many, I bet. Obviously, that has a lot to do with Luka, who's playing truly like a top 5 player in the NBA. If I'm just saying, like, if Ant gets to that point, then it's like, why not us? So
exactly.
So I think there's a lot of reason to be excited here.
Yeah, there's so much parity right now in the NBA that the Wolves definitely have a shot at getting there. They're one of the youngest teams in the NBA still.
Yeah.
You have to remember, Cat is only 26 years old. So, like, he's been in the league 7 years. There's no excuses for some of his meltdowns in the playoffs. But, he could still get better yet, too. So he could, refine his craft and, just become an even more well-rounded player. Maybe he stays out of foul trouble a little better. So there's all sorts of improvement that could come from Ant, McDaniels, and Cat yet. And then when you surround them with better pieces as you mix and match throughout the next several years here, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how far this team can go. So I give all the credit to the new ownership, because Glenn Taylor's proven to be a horrible owner, but I will give him credit. It seems like he's kind of letting Laurie and A-Rod run the show a little bit in terms of who they're hiring, because this was 100% of Laurie and A-Rod type move. So I do give Glenn credit for backing off and just kind of letting them do that. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But do you have any other final thoughts before we take off here?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would say enjoy the NBA Finals, but certainly get excited about this offseason to come. I think there could be a lot of wildness, or maybe it's a lot of quietness. We'll see. But I think with this Timberwolves team, you're going to always be on the edge of your seat, because anything could happen at any point in time, especially when we got a team that's on the rise like we have.
Yeah, make sure you're cheering for past Timberwolf Andrew Wiggins in the.
Yes, just as long as the Warriors get Wig going.
Exactly. He's been playing pretty well, but it's tough to see. He would have never maximized that potential here. So, whatever. It doesn't matter. But that will do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Like I mentioned earlier, please click the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. And you can give us a follow on both Twitter and Instagram, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Tim Connelly, the Wolves hiring him, going and making a splash hire like this? And what kind of moves do you think he'll make to this roster to further improve it and make it a strong contender in the Western Conference? So let us know your thoughts. And until next time, thanks for watching.